welcome to ChiroSphere, where we talk about all things chiropractic and some things not so chiropractic. I'm Kristi Hudson, your host for ChiroSphere, filling in for Dr. Ray Foxworth today. I'm the VP of Business Relations at ChiroHealth USA, the network that works for chiropractic. And I am so excited to be joined by a true leader in the chiropractic profession, my dear friend, Phyllis Frase-Charette. She currently serves as Parker University's Director of Corporate Sponsorships and Continuing Education. She has worn about every hat in chiropractic, from being a chiropractic assistant to office manager, trainer, and if you've had the pleasure of hearing her speak, she is a dynamic national speaker. She's been working in the chiropractic profession since 1998, and she's been inspiring and educating teams with her career at Parker Seminars. Whether you've seen her on stage motivating teams or behind the scenes helping offices level up their performance at a Parker Seminars event, you know that she brings a rare blend of insight, energy, and no nonsense advice. Welcome to the podcast, Phyllis.
Oh, thank you, Christy. I need to do these more often because you just gave me like 10 years of amazing compliments. I need to hang around you more.
Well, you are spectacular, and you're probably one of the least likely to toot your own horn and about all the different things that you do. And I think that's probably pretty common for a lot of people who work behind the scenes to make magic happen. And if any of y'all have ever been to a Parker event, man, I'm telling you, she is like the fairy godmother of chiropractic events with her. It's just pizzazz and fun. And I was really sad because I was doing an event, you were doing an event, and you were sprinkling your pizzazz all over Florida, just not where I was at.
That's okay. It was great. There's enough to go around for everybody.
There is. Well, so let's talk about all of the different hats you have worn throughout your chiropractic career, starting in a chiropractic office, working your way to where you are with Parker Seminars. So, what first drew you to chiropractic and what keeps you so passionate about it after all these years?
Well, being married to him is for one thing. I think I think it was being around, you know, my former husband and working in his office and learning how to run an office because you think that all you need to do is hang a shingle and the people will come. If it were that easy, we'd have, 2 million chiropractors in the profession right now. Um, and when I first started working in a chiropractic office, it was struggling. And during that time, the only thing that was around were the Parker seminars. So that office started going to the seminars. Back in the day, it was 6 seminars a year. And I can't imagine, what it took to do 6 seminars a year. But at the same time, we've transformed, we've grown, and we've done a lot of things within the seminars. Um, to make all that come to fruition. But I learned how to be a chiropractic assistant in the office that I worked for. And it was an amazing experience because ultimately, I think in this profession, everybody just wants to help people. You know, no matter what type of chiropractor you are, where there's just adjusting, or incorporating other modalities that you may know or you may learn, whether it's massage, acupuncture, all the modalities that support getting a patient better. And so I just fell in love with that concept. My kids have been under chiropractic care since they were born. My youngest I'm on baby watch right now. She could go into labor every time she has gotten adjusted all through her pregnancy, and her pregnancy has gone beautifully. So chiropractic is just magical. And as I evolved in the profession and running offices, I guess at that time, I guess Parker Seminars, going to all the seminars and sitting in the front row and participating, I guess they thought that I would be a good addition to the team. And so I started speaking. I think my first one, like you said, they're going to start calling me the Pioneer CA because I don't know if anybody's older than me right now.
Oh my goodness, you are so funny. You don't do as much speaking today as you used to. I mean, again, you're juggling a lot of balls and getting all of these events um executed. But I have had the opportunity to hear you speak, and it's just phenomenal. honestly, you have to speak at least 1 or 2 times a year. I think there's something to be said for you've been on every side of a convention. You know, you've been there as the attendee, you've been there as the speaker, you've been there as the host who's pulled it all together, and, um, I think that's why you're really so good at your job. You know, being that we're a vendor, I'm a speaker, an attendee. One of the things that everybody always talks about is it doesn't matter why you're at a Parker seminar, but you always make everybody feel heard and valued, and you take such good care of everybody that is in attendance. So
Yes, but we have a team that also understands how important the Parker seminars are to our attendees, to our students, to our speakers, to our vendors. And that goes, not to say with Donnie McNutt, my boss, and also the president of Parker University, Dr. Morgan, because they all have those expectations that this is the way it's going to be and that's why we have such a special team that has been assembled, because everybody on that team can do the same thing that I do, but in a different way, right? But I think in anything, just like you, Kristi, you're an amazing speaker. You've been on our platform before. I think it comes down to having the passion to do what you do. If you're a speaker and somebody's giving you their material that you're supposed to speak on, will it be the same? Probably not, because you don't have the same drive or the same passion, because you actually created that presentation and you hope to, change somebody's lives, whether it's just one person in the audience. So I think, like you said, it boils down to the magic inside of you and the passion that you have for whatever you're speaking on, whether it's, a car mechanic, you know, um, fixing an engine for somebody. You got to love what you do.
absolutely. And there are so many speakers who speak on a lot of the same topics, but you could go and literally, I mean, Kathy and I speak on the same topics. Evan William and I speak on the same topics, but our delivery is going to be completely different. Our perspective completely different. Our background's completely different. And the source of our passion for the profession is completely different. And I do have to second the fact that you do have an amazing team because if you run into, and you will throughout your entire Parker Seminars event, like you will always have interactions with the Parker Seminars team. And it's always amazing, always such an amazing event. They always make everybody, again, feel special, feel heard, a part of the fun. I think that's such a huge thing.
Well, yeah, one of our taglines used to be "Come for the education, but stay for the party."
Oh my gosh, I love that so much. If it was the tagline and not anymore, it should be. So, with so many events, because like you didn't just speak for Parker, you spoke at state association events. I mean, you spoke at events big and small. Is there a standout moment or story that stayed with you over the years, like something that reminds you why you're so passionate about it from an events and education?
And this goes way back in the day. My first presentation at the Parker seminars. I mean, I was in my early 20s, and I remember when I wore it was a double-breasted navy blue suit, and it was a spoof on the dating game. And so we had four chiropractic assistants sitting in the front, and their chiropractors went out of the room, and we asked certain questions of the CA, because the whole goal was, how do you how are you on the same side with your team and the doctors? Because effective communication is everything. And we played the dating game music. And I mean, probably in this day and age, nobody would know what the dating game is. I think there's a remake of it. But it was so fun to see that what ran our office so well, that we could teach hundreds of others offices to be successful, you know. And it was funny, like I think one of the questions that asked was, what time is the last patient supposed to be seen in your office? And all the CA said 5:45 or 5:30 or whatever their time is. And when the DCs came out, it was like, whenever the last patient is seen, if they're running late or whatever. And it was just fun to see that procedures can change a practice. Whether it's collections, whether it's technology, whether it's notes, whether it's compliance, that that policies and procedures are your guiding star, because if you don't have those, then it'll always be chaotic. It's always my first presentation. Do you remember when your first presentation was and where you were?
I do. My very first presentation was for the Student ACA Leadership Conference. Um, and it was in Portland, Oregon. And so, bless my heart, I didn't know anything. I was talking about chiropractic from a patient perspective as someone before I started working in chiropractic who was terrified of being adjusted to go into work for a chiropractor and then becoming an advocate and telling my foster daughter's story. Um, and so I thought it was just students. I had no idea who was going to be there. So when I walk into the room to speak, Dr. Bill Moreau is the presentation right before me, and this is right after the Olympics. And he has this PowerPoint presentation with him and all these Olympians, and it's them clowning around before they go and perform, do their sport. And everybody's laughing and they're in awe because who wouldn't be? This is like right after, I think, Rio. And I have to speak right after him. But then I also notice around the room all these other people, like these very important people in chiropractic. It's not just students. And I felt so sick to my stomach. And I was like, oh my gosh, I don't even have a PowerPoint because they had something very specific they wanted me to talk about. So I got up there and my voice was shaking. I was shaking and I went through the presentation and I made a joke about had they told me that I was speaking after Dr. Moreau, then I probably would have declined because who wants to speak after him? But the great news was is everybody had a cocktail hour as soon as I wrapped up or something like that. But there's a really emotional part of my story and about my foster daughter's journey where the medical world gave up on her and chiropractic saved her life.
Yeah.
And afterward, Dr. Moreau walked up to me and he said, had I listened to you speak and had to speak after you, I don't think that I could have. He was like, that was incredible. But that also launched me speaking because Dr. Wayne Wilson was there from NCMIC and he walked out of the room and called Dr. Foxworth and said, if you don't put her on every stage across America, you're an idiot. So definitely my most memorable speaking engagement. My second would be the first time I spoke for Parker seminars also. And I remember walking to the room to see it so I would know where it was the morning of. And I didn't realize how big it was. I thought it was supposed to be small. And I saw, I was like, oh my gosh, look at all these people. And I walked out and I went to the restroom and I threw up.
Oh, well, and maybe this podcast should be true confessions.
And it's not like I hadn't been spoken for. Yes, I did. I was like, oh, and even the pictures that people sent me of me speaking at Parker for the first time, because it was like one of those things that you write down, like, this is the goal. And I wanted to be able to do this. I'm like this big in the picture, and all you see are all these heads, and all the seats were full, and people were standing in the back. And like, it was a huge moment for me. So, and I mean, I think that everybody feels that way when they get to speak for Parker for the first time, or really every time. At least I just don't get sick anymore.
Well, you also know what to expect. And we try, as a team, we do try and let, you guys know what to expect and, things like that. So we try and be as transparent as we can because technically at those seminars, we all work for the speakers and we work for the attendees. We put everything else aside. And yeah, there's hiccups and there's things that happen, but the attendees, unless there's a blackout or, someone feigning at a keynote speaker, Michael Phelps, I don't know if you remember that or not, but those are the things that what we do on the backside, the attendees never see unless, like I said, unless it's a power outage or somebody fainting during a presentation. But our seminars team is great. I mean, all the hard work that goes into the planning and the execution of it. But it's kind of like at the end of the day, after the seminar's over, it's kind of like you've planned a wedding for 2 years and the expo hall is beautiful. And then within 10 minutes, it's tore up. The registration desk is tore down. All the, marketing, branding stuff is torn down. It's kind of like at the end on the last day, it's like, oh my gosh, it's really over. It's just like planning a wedding, but, you know.
It
with
is funny because you can just about watch your watch and see right up there to the cutoff time that the minute it hits 4 p.m. and you'll hear the first person's tape go, and then all of a sudden it's like this loud of the tear down process, which is so funny. I love that you talk about all the things that are unexpected that happen. And I think that's one of the big things about event planning is to always expect the unexpected.
we
There's
always
no
have a
such
backup to a backup.
Oh, yeah. There's no such thing as perfect planning, and then the most random things happen that you just do not expect. Tech issues, you always expect it. A speaker running late, getting lost to their room, always expect that, right? Travel delays, problems like that, you're gonna expect it. And then you have something random happen, you're like, "Didn't see that coming."
No, it's been a great it's been a great journey, because I moved to Dallas because I got the job with Parker, but my first job with Parker was external, recruitment. I recruited students for 2 years until I came over to the seminar side.
Oh my gosh, that would be so much
It
fun.
was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun.
And, you know, one of my favorite there's so many things I love about my job, but going and speaking with the students and hanging out with the students on campus and talking about what they're going through in school, what to expect after they graduate and go into practice is like probably one of my favorite parts.
I know.
Um,
It was so cool when I would have a student start, and then you kinda watched them grow up, if that makes sense. At the university, it was kinda like they were in a cocoon when they started, and then when they graduated, they were this beautiful chiropractic butterfly, and, it was just really cool to see how they grew up during those 4 years, and potentially being a patient of theirs when they were in clinic so they could get their numbers, and it was just that was very rewarding, and then you see them on Facebook, and they've had kids, and they got a thriving practice, and yeah, it's just that's really cool.
you know, our scholarship students, I think we've had 10, and all but one of them I have kept up with even from the very, very beginning, where I run into them at events, we're friends on social media, and I'm keeping up with their lives. And I think about the times when they received the scholarship, they might have been in their, you know, their first half of their chiropractic schooling. And then to see them now out in the world working, some of them own their own practices, some of them are associates where they first started. They've gotten married, they've had kids, and they've had all these big life things. They're volunteering and they're leaders in their states. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I remember when you were a baby.
I know. That is true, and we do, I know the profession and Parker University as well, is very grateful for all your donations with Cairo Health USA and the scholarships. We've had a few Parker students that've gotten some, and we appreciate that because every penny counts.
It sure does. And you know what? It takes a lot of heart and a lot of money to get through chiropractic school, right? So those students, they really want to be there and everything we can do to help make it easier for them.
Yeah,
I think it's a huge part. It's like it's probably one of my favorite places where philanthropically, where we feel very strongly and it's helping
absolutely.
supporting those students is so important.
I
Well,
mean,
we're gonna
just
oh,
like you on a table at the gala, so you need to put that date on your calendar for 2026 because we want you guys there.
yes, I know. We've missed it the last 2 years.
I know. May 2nd, 2026.
May 2nd, 2026.
Yeah.
Yes, because I do have serious FOMO, and people were texting me from the event with pictures. I was like, "Y'all are so mean."
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
It looked like a lot of fun. Okay, so we're gonna hang tight, everybody. We're gonna take a quick break from one of our sponsors. Welcome back to our podcast with our guest, Phyllis Frase-Charette. So, we've been talking a little bit about your work with Parker Seminars and Parker University. And let's talk about specifically the big mama, the big show, Parker Vegas. Um, so it's definitely the largest chiropractic conference in the US, if not the world. I mean, it's
I totally agree with that. Yes.
yes. With as Dr. Morgan announced, y'all had record-breaking numbers, people from all over the world that attended this year. What does it actually take to plan an event of this magnitude? And what are some of the behind the scenes moments people would be surprised to learn about?
Gosh. Well, I mean, you kind of just do it. I mean, it would be great for it to be just a turnkey thing. Okay, the Vegas seminar is this is what we do, but there's a small team because there's not like a seminars team that is dedicated to seminars. So, like, I'm pulled from CE, right? And marketing has, five or six people that work on all the branding and, the emails and the advertising for that. And then, you have alumni because alumni is very important and, there's planning for them. And, our board of trustees will um, uh, show up to the seminar. I think the coolest thing this year is our goal was to have the seminar where everybody meets, like the ACA and, you know, um, colleges meeting for their annual meeting or having an alumni reception there or having companies like you come and do their planning. Um, just the chiropractic professions coming together to have their meetings, right? And so we did fulfill that goal in 2025. I think our venue, I think we love the Paris, but we just outgrew it. We outgrew the hotel rooms, we outgrew the space, and we wanted to grow the expo hall. That was most important. And, the Caesars Forum allowed us to do that. And we're there a couple more years. And then do we stay there or do we look for something new? And, I think the funniest moments are just the staff working together and giving everybody a hard time. My biggest thing is, are the keynote show, are the keynotes going to show up? Are all the exhibitors going to show up? And so about after the first keynote speaker of the first day, I can actually go, because all the first go around speakers showed up at 8 o'clock in the morning. The first keynote speaker, showed up. Everybody got there, and so that for me, that's the most nerve wracking thing. Um, but we start planning probably 2 years in advance for that next seminar, right? Um, but I can't think of any weird or odd things that happened except for Michael Phelps and that attendee fainting in the back of the in the back of the um speaker's room. But it just, I mean, I could go on and on of all the things that we do, but what makes the magic is that we have a team that really, really works together. And yeah, well, we think it should be this way. No, I think it should be this way. No, it needs to be this way. But there's not one person that's over the seminar. It's more of a collaborative thing. And sometimes collaborative is a good thing. And then sometimes collaborative is, okay, we just need to make a decision, you know?
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, it's just the synergy of the team is what makes the magic happen. And we're always looking for specific trends in the profession, looking for the best speakers, looking for the best keynote speakers from a motivational standpoint and a clinical standpoint. Because, in my opinion, the Parker Seminars is just not a CE seminar. It's an experience. It's an experience to get your picture taken with Kevin O'Leary or Michael Phelps or Gary V. That is what creates the experience. And the funnest part to me, because I am a CA by heart, is watching these teams come together at a seminar and they just light up and they go, oh, I can do this, or I can do this for my doctor, and getting the whole teams motivated where they go back to their office on Monday and they're on fire. I think that's the most gratifying thing to me. I'd love to get 2,000 CAs there alone, you know and we've created some special pricing for just um CAs, because there are doctors that will just send their CAs there, and so we've created some special pricing for CA packages. And, we really look at the surveys and look at the class attendance. And, it is almost a year-long process because you're always getting feedback. You're always looking at what the next trend in the profession's going to be. So, um, but that's the most rewarding thing, is to really see those office come together as one and know that they can change somebody's life in their practice or their community. That's the coolest thing.
Love that so much. And I do love the specialist training for CAs and then some of the collaborative classes for the chiros and their teams so that everybody's on the same page because
Yeah.
the reality is that if for you doctors who are not taking your whole team to seminars, you are missing the boat because it's the only way to make sure that you're walking in step and you're on the same page because when you do that, that's when your practice truly becomes the
Right, and I always use that tagline because we always have a chiropractic assistant breakfast. We're looking at maybe changing that, or changing the CA track in Vegas. But my thing was, the doctor in your office is the hands of the office, and the CA is the heart of the office.
I love that.
You know, because when you have a dynamic CA, your the doctor is unstoppable. Because
Totally.
that patient knows that they're gonna get help from that doctor unless it's something just beyond help, you know? But if you have a CA that cares for the doctor and cares for the patient and cares the way the office looks, the way that a patient is treated, in my opinion, that office is unstoppable,
I love that.
you know?
So I love that you talked about some of your keynotes because y'all are well known for having some amazing keynotes. After all, you made my heart go pitter pat the minute
Jay
you
Shetty.
steady. Man, highlight top 5 moments of my life getting my picture taken with Jay Shetty, which by the
I
way,
thought that was so cool how he got the entire audience up and moving, and I'm like, "How do you do that with 3,000 people?" You know?
do you know the funniest part about that is that where we were sitting, I don't even know how we managed to get good seats in there to see him. Like we were fairly close to the stage. So when he was telling everybody, go to this side, go to that side, we were like, we're not moving. Somebody's going to take our seat. Right? Until he said, you can go to the front or go to the back. And then we got up and we ran to the front and then we were standing on the stage. So one of my pictures is me standing at the stage and I look up and he was like right there. And then Dr. Morgan scared me because he walked up to me and he was like kind of like nudged me and he's like, he's amazing, right?
Yeah, he was awesome.
So I love that you talk about that because I think these are once in a lifetime opportunities for people, in our profession to hear from people like Jay Shetty or Gary Vee, and then give a different type of motivation. And I love that you're not so CE focused. There is clinical stuff and all these things. It's like a very well rounded event. But when you're thinking about the future and as you're planning 2 years in advance, like how do you see continuing education evolving for conferences like
That's a loaded question.
uh,
It really is. We kinda have a formula that we work through. We need, you know, if and it's so funny because people will call and go, "Does XY at your seminar, does XYZ state, will you have 24 hours there?" And I'm like, if we fulfilled every state's obligation, as you know, that seminar would last 20 days.
it would.
I mean, you know, uh, everybody just has such different requirements. So we try and focus on, you know, if we're in Florida, then, we're going to focus on those mandatory hours for those Floridians. If we're in California, we're going to I'm sorry, if we're in Vegas, we're going to focus on Nevada and California because we're in that particular state. But, some trends that are coming down is, like radiology, with, ultrasound with muscular skeletal conditions. Documentation is always key because that's what chiropractors get called on. documentation, compliance. I mean, I'm preaching to the choir, but there are some people that don't care about the seed, that just want to come and listen to all the marketing or listen to all the business principles, because that's how the seminars got started in the first place, is that Jim Parker was very successful in his offices, and there were chiropractors struggling. So he created the seminars so people could learn how to run a practice, how to adjust, be an entrepreneur, and get that experience, to go back to their communities. And we still have his spirit, but the profession has evolved. It evolved where there are multiple offices now. There's integrated offices. There's single practitioners. So we have to embrace what everybody's doing so no one's excluded.
Love that. And there's so many different types of chiropractic offices today. And for me, the CE aspect of a Parker event is just the bonus. Okay, so I got CE while I was also here, but that's not the
Exactly.
point of going to a Parker event. It's an experience. It's about networking. It's about connections. It's about learning. You don't typically learn at an association event because it is focused on the CE aspect of it. And so you're thinking about CE, go to your state association events. That's what they're there for. And they're bringing the stuff that you need based on your guidelines. You get a Parker, it's like, okay, you get a little bit of CE, but you get so much more on how to be a part of a successful practice.
Right. And that's kind of our philosophy, is we say, CE is a bonus to our seminars. You're not going to get everything, so go and support your state association, right? Um,
Yes.
and so, but I get it, people have budgets, people, want to make the most of their time. But I mean, we get the average hours in there. And the cool thing that sets us apart is we're an international domestic Canadian provider. So we're filing to everybody, so that no one can be excluded. That's why we have a lot of Europeans and Canadians coming in, but like Canadians, they don't need documentation, right? So, it's just, you're never going to get 100% right, but 90% of it can be right.
Well, too, I think it's just a matter of like your mindset when you go in there, just being open to learning whatever. And if you just happen to learn something, you got C credit for it, great. But if not, you just learn something to take back to your practice to become more successful. And I love to see that it's very uplifting. It's just very high energy. And I know that for like our team that gets to travel there and they get to work in the booth and be a part of the event, for them. Like they come back and they're just so excited to be a part of the chiropractic profession. All they did was work a booth, but they got to see some of the speakers. Enough so that we've even one year we brought our entire company to Vegas to attend Parker seminars because we felt like everybody needed that uplifting and motivation. Even though we did need, we were not getting CE, we're not there for the clinical aspects of it, but we wanted them to have that experience, and they still talk about it to this day. So, my loaded question for you, because I know you get asked this a lot, as do I and Heather and everybody else. If you've ever spoken for a Parker event, especially Parker Vegas, we all get this question. Who do I need to talk to if I want to speak at Parker Vegas? FYI, you might be surprised. You speak to no one. So, how do they do that? If they want to speak at Parker Vegas, what's the process?
So we are probably one of the few, if the only, that we don't have companies sponsor our speakers. We pay our sponsors independently of what any product company that they're affiliated with, because that gives us the ability to control the content, for one, and also to make sure our attendees aren't getting an hour-long infomercial, right?
Right.
So we have a committee of 12. And if someone wants to be a speaker, there's an application on parkerseminars.com. And up at the top, it says become a speaker. And it's a pretty lengthy application. You have to have a video of you speaking live, because the committee reviews that. And it's hard to go back and tell everybody. I mean, basically, the application goes where it needs to go. But if you're not selected, we don't reach back out to you. If you are selected, someone will reach out to you, asking about availability and your topics, because we probably get 50 to 60 applications a month.
I believe it. It's really funny, and I really I was thinking about this because the day that you and I were texting about doing a podcast, I had been asked 3 times if I could put in a good word for them to be a speaker, and I was like, "No," because I don't even nobody knows who the 12 people are who make the selection process. I was like, "And Phyllis and Dr. Morgan will be the first two to tell you it's not them. Like, you have to go through the process. They make a selection. They talk to you all about it, but ultimately, like, that's how that works. So I think it's so funny that and I'm like, Heather and I both had to submit applications. We've submitted multiple applications. Kathy Mills Chang or Kathy Wadner has done that. Like everybody you see speak at Parker, unless they're, Jay Shetty, um, submitted an application to be a part of that process. And, sometimes we get lucky enough, we get asked to do it more than once. And you know what? But that's the process. So for all of you who keep asking, now you know. So, a couple of quick questions as we wrap this up. Who is your hero and why?
Wow. That's I guess, and it's not really anybody famous. Um so right that came to the top of my head, it would have to be my kids.
I love that.
You know, um, because they, both of them have thriving careers. Both of them have great husbands. Both of them contribute. Because, this goes back to a Parker seminar. I don't know if you remember this seminar or not, but remember, um, uh, Chicken Soup for the Soul.
Do.
What it,
But
what,
why can't I think of his name?
Hanson? No.
Yeah, Mark Victor Hansen.
Thank you, Mark Victor Hansen. Yay! For the two of us, two brains can get one answer. Um, he made us, I don't know if you were in this class, but he made us do 100 goals in like 20 seconds. We had to write down 100 goals. And then we had to give it to him. We had to give us our 100 goals, and he sent it back to us a year later so that we could look at it. He didn't want us reviewing it because it was always, if you think it, you ink it, writing down your goals, make things come to fruition, da 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 da. The typical stuff that we learn. And so one of my goals, well, I have 3 funny goals that actually came to fruition the last 98, 99, and 100 because I was running out of stuff by that time. But one of the goals was that my children morally and ethically contribute to their community, right? And
That.
so, and through time they always have. Like Erin is a traveling nurse, and she does rehab in hospitals or rehabilitation centers, people who have brain injuries, traumatic injury, need to learn how to walk again kind of thing. And Katie makes the world beautiful by being a cosmetologist, and she's about ready to have a baby. And they've always supported themselves, and they've always taken good care of themselves. So I would have to say my kids.
I love that. So, what do you think you'd be doing today if you were not working in chiropractic?
Having a big ranch or farm and being foster parents to standard poodles,
Oh, I love that.
or running a bed and breakfast.
Oh, look at that hospitality and serving, whether it be dogs or people. I love it. It fits your personality perfectly. Well, thank you so much, Phyllis, for being a guest today. What Parker seminars are coming up the rest of this year?
Wow. We have NeuroCon, which that is one of my favorite seminars. It's just a 2-day, one speaker right after another, and it's all about neurology. I mean, you can check out our schedule at neurocon.parkerseminars.com. It is July 25th and 26th. We have Matthew Walker, about why sleep. We've got some really, really cool speakers this year. We always really get cool speakers for NeuroCon because it is such a niche, because that goes to support, well, not monetarily, but it is in alignment with our Parker Performance Institute, our clinic up in Frisco that helps neurological problems in athletes and military personnel and first responders. So NeuroCon kind of embraces that clinic from that standpoint. And then in October, we have our Dallas Parker Plus Homecoming seminar, which will be on our campus. We'll have about 1,200 students that take part in that seminar, and about 1,200 alumni and chiropractors and CAs. And that is October 3rd through the 5th. And then we got Vegas in 2026, February 26th through the 28th. I believe that is the date. It's back in February this year or next year. So,
Thank you so much for sharing all that great information, and hopefully I'll see y'all at a Parker Seminars very soon. Um,
seriously. Much love. Always great to connect with you, and I appreciate you like you appreciate me.
you're the best, y'all.
You're the best.
I love that I get to work with her. Oh my gosh, the best, absolutely the best.
The saddest thing is I never get to visit with you at a seminar.
I know that. That's so crazy. Every now and then we end up at a seminar together where we're both not like I'm kind of working for Chisa, but like she's just there, attending, listening to speakers, meeting with vendors and stuff. And if I'm lucky, I get like 5 to 10 minutes to walk around with her.
But do you know what I did in Miami? Real quick, Cindy Parks spoke in Miami, and I'm in my room. I don't know what day it was or what night it was, and I had put on my pajamas. It was like 7:30, 8 o'clock. And I'm like, you know what? I need to text her and see if she wants to catch up. So I text her, and we met in the lobby bar 5 hours later, right?
Oh my gosh. See, I love
See,
that.
you and I need to do that the next time we are in the same seminar location.
Well, okay. I'm going to hold you to that, and it's
That
recorded.
too.
Y'all heard it.
Yep.
We're going to hang out. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. Please subscribe and share the podcast with your friends and let us know who you'd like to hear from in the future and what topics you'd like us to cover. And we'll do our best to deliver. If you're offering discounts of any kind in your office, you need to make sure you are not breaking state and federal regulations on dual fees, inducements, anti-kickback, and so much more. We can help eliminate these concerns by using our profitable discount strategy, which ensures that your discounts are always 100% compliant and, most importantly, profitable. Over the past 17 years, over 7,000 chiropractors and over 4.3 million patient families have gotten the care they need at a price they can afford with ChiroHealth USA. If you need to increase revenue and retention and practice with more peace of mind, please give us a call at 888-719-9990 or visit our website at chusa.com and find out why ChiroHealth USA is the network that works for chiropractic and you. Thank you, everyone.